Welcome into 12 News. The Sunflower State says it is ready to welcome the Chiefs. That's the message from the Republican leadership of the Kansas House and Senate.
There's a special session in less than 2 weeks, and lawmakers are looking to revisit a plan introduced in April. Sean Logging has a reaction and the factors at play.
Mike Rachel, notably absent from that invitation from the Kansas House Speaker and Senate President yesterday, a mention of the Kansas City Royals. But the letter to Clark Hunt welcomes the Chief organization to partner with Kansas in exploring using the state's Star Bond program to fund a stadium for the team in Kansas City, Kansas. This effort materialized following the failed Jackson County, Missouri sales tax vote earlier this year. A play to bring the Chiefs to Kansas.
I think it could be cool.
Viewed as an intriguing idea.
I think it would be a good thing, bring more tax dollars into the Kansas area instead of Missouri.
Leadership in the Kansas legislature hoping to team up with the Kansas City Chiefs for this effort, set to be on the docket for the June 18th special session in Topeka. A statement Tuesday saying, "We're excited that the Chiefs are open to this conversation and look forward to seeing what mutually beneficial opportunities might lie ahead." The plan would use an altered version of the state's Commerce Department's Star Bond program to build a professional sports stadium and related infrastructure. It would be able to fund up to 75%, and it has to be at least a $1 billion project.
How you subsidize is the issue with the Star Bonds. Star Bonds are incredibly risky, and people don't spend enough money to cover that debt.
Dr. Jeffrey Profiter is an associate professor of public affairs at UC Denver and researches sports facility economics. Star bonds are paid for by the sales tax dollars collected in an area around the project rather than being directed to other services. Dr. Profiter says how big that area is a double-edged sword.
As you make it bigger, that cannibalized tax revenue, the tax revenue you would have gotten anyways, increases. Whereas if you make it smaller, that cannibalized tax revenue decreases, but then you also increase the likelihood that the project won't be able to pay for itself.
He says Star bonds in theory sound appealing because the risk is with the investors, not taxpayers, but state intervention could be required if sales taxes can't cover the debt. He adds more data is also needed to answer one key question.
What is gained by having them be actually located in the state of Kansas?
And ahead of the special session, there's an extensive lobbying effort underway using the organization's Scoop and Score. The group has nearly 20 registered lobbyists, including former Kansas House Speaker Ron Reichman. In a statement, he describes this as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the state.
Sean, thank you. While Kansas lawmakers try to lure the Chiefs across the state line, some Missouri lawmakers are looking to respond with action of their own. A Kansas City Democrat tells our sister station KCTV that he will be asking the Missouri Governor Mike Parson to convene a special session over the Kansas attempt to pull the Chiefs away. As you remember, Jackson County, Missouri voters rejected a 3/8 sales tax proposal that would have gone toward funding a downtown ballpark for the Royals and also renovations of Arrowhead Stadium earlier this year.